Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Chuck Ekman, and I am president of the International Association of Universities Libraries. And I want to welcome you to today's annual general meeting. I also would like to thank the board of IATL. According to our constitution, the board consists of 8 members. We aim for representation from different parts of Europe. We have considered the UK a part of Europe, the Americas, Asia, and the Pacific, Africa, and the Middle East. And our board has been very active this past year, and I want to express my appreciation to them for their leadership. Today we have 4 votes ahead of us, 2 matters that are formal matters to start the meeting, both approving our agenda and the minutes of the General Assembly meeting that was held in July of 2020. And you should have received that information by email, the copy of the agenda and the minutes. At this moment, we want to move to adopt the agenda. So we are going to try now a grand experiment, that is using the polling function of Floor to conduct our business. At this point, Luis Costa, our host, is going to attempt to begin the poll. The question before you will be whether to approve the agenda that was distributed, and you should see on your screen. The options will be yes, no, and abstain. So, and we should get results in real time, we're hoping.
If people can't see the option to vote on the polls, just change to another separator to handouts and go back to polls to make sure it is refreshed.
Okay, I'm looking at the results of the poll. It looks like the agenda has been approved and adopted. Thank you very much, Luis. I will now move to the next matter that should be on our agenda. Let's see if I can move the well, I've lost the ability to, let's see, move the, there we go. So the next matter on the agenda is the minutes from the meeting held July 14th, 2020. The next poll will be whether to approve the minutes as submitted. And again, it looks like there is approval of the minutes from the last annual general meeting. So thank you everyone for participating in the votes, and thank you, Luis, for expertly applying this aspect of the floor technology. And at this point, on the agenda is our membership report, and for that I'm going to turn to our secretary, Anna Wallach from the Gdansk University of Technology, who will provide the membership report. Anna?
Thank you, Chuck. Hello, everyone. I would like to join thanking you for being with us, and thank you. Thanks to you, we can achieve our common goals. Despite having a difficult year behind us, marked by the constraints and the pandemic, we have been very active. Our members struggled with various difficulties, both organizational and financial, but we are very glad that you stayed with us, and we thank you for that. We are also thank the new members and all those who have been involved in the work of the board of directors and special interest groups. And as you can see here on the slide, IATL currently has more than 260 members from 70 different countries. And during this year, we received 12 new membership applications. Unfortunately, we had also 6 cancellations because of some reasons, and new memberships, 9 memberships expired to the non-payment of the membership fees. Next slide, please. If you like to see the map of the membership, and if you'd like to see the members of your countries or other countries, you can meet the IATL website, and you can see all the details at the website. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna, for that report. It's good to see IATL growing, even during this period of time that has been very difficult. And now I'm going to turn to our treasurer, Donna Born-Tyson from Dalhousie University, who will present the treasurer's report. Donna?
Thanks very much, Chuck. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. It's my pleasure to present the treasurer's report on behalf of the board. As you can imagine, since February of 2020 or March of 2020, it's been difficult to plan and budget for anything, and I'm sure you've had that experience at your own institution. So we've had a couple of unusual years. Our goal is always to be responsible stewards of the funds entrusted to IATL, and that is primarily the money we take in through membership dues and conference proceedings. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of the 2020 year and the results of our audit, and a little bit about the 2021 year that we're in currently. Next slide, please. So we had already set the budget for 2020 when the pandemic arrived, and we decided to keep the budget as it was because we weren't sure if we'd be able to have an in-person conference or not. And so we wanted to make sure we had sufficient funds budgeted for a normal year. And of course, that didn't transpire, and we ended up postponing the 2020 Porto conference to this year. So we ended up, our membership did stay healthy, as Anna said. So we had 41,250 euros in income for the year. That was our membership dues. And we ended the year with 125,911 euros in savings. Next slide, please. For expenditures, we had far fewer expenditures than we had originally budgeted because there was no travel and no conference activities, no travel grants awarded. And so we ended up spending 26,208 euros. This was compared to what we budgeted, 87,360, and also far lower than the actual cost of the previous year, which was 54,797. So we did end the year with the assets of 125,911. Next slide, please. Our fiscal year is January to December, and we had our audit on July 2nd by the auditor in Munich that we've used for a few years now. The records were pronounced true and complete, and the cash accounts and deposits were correct. It was a clean audit with no management remarks or any other comments. Next slide, please. So for the year we're in now, 2021, again, we decided to budget for what we hoped would be a normal year with an in-person conference, which hasn't transpired, but is lovely to be in Porto with you all virtually here. And so we, again, are going to be achieving some savings due to conference expenses that we're not going to have to expend. So we anticipate that the budget, which was 72,400 euros, will be more than we will be expending by the end of the year. The board will be looking at this in the coming year and increasing the number of travel grants that we award for the next in-person conference, and reviewing other ways that we can show some returns to the members. We have also kept the membership rate flat for several years, as you know, because we do understand many institutions are just starting to grapple with the outcome of the pandemic now and facing some budgetary pressures. So for the year coming for 2022, the board will be approving the budget in December, and we're anticipating that we will be budgeting a little more than the last few years, in spite of the fact we haven't spent everything in the last few years, because we do anticipate a return to normal. So we're looking at a projected budget of 79,165 euros. And this will cover some additional costs we're going to be facing for some office transitions this coming year. And we do have sufficient net assets, as I've mentioned previously, to cover this increase. In closing, I would like to thank Christine Meister and Janet Schultz in the IADL office for all of their support to the board. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. And I just want to add my support to Janet Schultz and Christine Meister at the office for their support this year. But I also want to thank very much Donna Born-Tyson and Anna Wallach, who have been extremely diligent and active members of the executive committee. We are this year, following the retirement of Ann Horn, we are down one person on the executive committee, and I found Anna and Donna have both contributed at extraordinary levels to ensure that activities and business continue within the organization. So thank you both very much. I want to move on to a couple of additional board matters on which we are seeking the membership's engagement and advice. One is to approve 2 new board members who've been proposed for the board, and also the approval of the new executive committee of the board. The board members that we are proposing to add per the Constitution are Gerda Winkler at the Free University of Bozen-Bolzano and Kate Robinson at the University of Bath. Both have been beginning to serve as observers on the board, and per the Constitution, their terms, if accepted and approved by the membership, would not begin formally until January 1st. However, the board is occupied with many matters, and we appreciate their participation of observers in the past few weeks. And we are hoping that the membership will approve their appointment to the board for a term. each of them of 3 years. So I think at this point, Luis, if you could initiate the poll with regard to the proposal for appointing Gerda Winkler and Kate Robinson to the IIDL board. Thank you, Luis, and thank you to the membership. It appears that the proposed new board members have been approved for their appointment. And again, thanks to the membership for their support, and to Gerda and Kate in advance for their contributions to the board. We're very appreciative of their willingness to serve, and we look forward to working with them. With that, we'll move to the next matter, which is the next executive committee. As I mentioned, the executive committee has been without a vice president, as I served in the role of president following Anne's retirement. So the board would like to propose this slate for the next executive committee. Again, this committee would take effect in January 1st per the terms of the Constitution. I'm delighted to report that Anna Wallach, who has been an exceptional secretary and board member, has agreed to serve as president of the organization. Gerda Winkler has agreed to serve as treasurer of the organization. Donna Born-Tyson has agreed to serve a term of 1 year as secretary for the organization. And I will be serving as vice president, the original role, if this proposal is adopted by the membership. So at this point, Luis, could you initiate the poll for the question of the new executive committee? Thank you, Luis, and thank you to the members. It appears that the proposed slate has been approved, and so we'll move forward with these decisions. And I again thank those members of the board who've been willing to serve in this capacity as officers of the organization. Thank you so much, everyone. So we'll move on to the next matter on the agenda, which is board highlights. I wanted to just note a few of the matters that have occupied the board. We've had several meetings, and this doesn't capture the full slate of the activities of the board, but these are some of the highlights. Obviously, the first one was the transition after Anne Horn's retirement. There has been a transition. We have greatly benefited from Anne Horn's leadership and the elements of processes she set in place. And I think we have, with her help during that transition, moved the organization forward. We initiated a call for a conference host for the 2023 conference. There were criteria developed for evaluating the proposals that came forward. There were 3 that we reviewed, and we applied those and selected a host conference site, which I'll touch on in just a moment. And we anticipate that this process will be one that is used by the board in the future with regard to conferences. We were very, very pleased to see there was a strong interest from different sectors in hosting the IADL conference in 2023. As Donna mentioned, we suspended the travel awards program for obvious reasons during the past year. However, as Donna also mentioned, we anticipate restoring those travel grants and enhancing them a bit even, with the hopes that travel will return next year for the annual conference, and so we're looking forward to seeing that. One of the other matters that one of the other processes that Ann Horn set in place was a self-assessment process for the board. After every meeting of the board now, we conduct a survey that is anonymous within the board to determine whether the board is functioning at its optimal level. And that survey system is in place, and we continue to review those results to ensure that we are working together in the best possible way and achieving the outcomes that we hope. So that was something new for the board, and after every meeting, each member gets a survey and responds with that. We also have been discussing the issue of the translation service that we provide for the members, and are evaluating the effectiveness of that service to members. The next matter is the office matters. This is perhaps the greatest topic of conversation and work with the board right now, the most important one. As you know, since 2006, the IADL office and operational support has been provided within the Technical University of Munich library. It has been a very, very successful and effective working relationship that was guided by Rainer Kallenborn. And we are very appreciative to the Technical University of Munich and the library, the team there, and Rainer for their support for this organization over the past several years. However, that relationship must now come to an end. We are currently planning a transition in order to make that happen in the best possible way. We've established a board subcommittee that includes Jill Ben, Donna Born-Tyson, Lars Egland, Anna Wallach, Rainer Kallenborn, and myself. And we are actively working on options for supporting the office, operations, and finance, and other matters. It's a fairly significant amount of work, and so we want to make sure that the decision we make and the recommendation and the next steps will be something that will work for a long period of time, as this current relationship has worked. But we're very, very optimistic about that path, and there will be more information about that over the course of the next couple of months. We expect recommendations next month, in fact. Some of the activities and initiatives that the board has sponsored during the past year include the production of 2 newsletters, one in December and one in June. And I want to thank our board member, Vijay, who has been the editor for those newsletters. In autumn of 2020, I hope many of you attended the Innsbruck virtual seminar. That was quite a success with strong participation and focused around the theme of the pandemic experience and library innovation, a very successful seminar. In December 2020, we made a presentation at the World Forum on the Future of Academic Libraries, which was sponsored by CNKI. And of course, the premier activities of the organization in some ways are those activities of the special interest groups, or SIGs. The SIG Alice, SIG Data, SIG Mari, SIG IL, and SIG Space. These groups are chaired by IADL members and are very active in their domains. And I hope that everyone will be able to attend tomorrow's session just before the break, in which the chairs and co-chairs of each of these special interest groups will report briefly on the activities of their groups. This is one of the special benefits of membership, is the ability to work with these groups and to benefit from the knowledge that they are sharing with the organization. So I encourage everyone to engage in that part of the program tomorrow. So some of the conferences and events I wanted to touch upon briefly. Of course, we are just at the very start of the annual conference hosted by the University of Porto's Faculty of Engineering. And again, Luis Costa and his team have assembled a really, really strong set of papers and presentations, and they have also implemented this new technology to try to emulate the experience of an in-person conference. And we're very appreciative of the hard work that they have undertaken, and very impressive support for the moderators and presenters in trying to learn a system that is, for most of us, very new, but seems very effective. So a really strong thank you to Luis and his team. Very impressive work. We did issue a call for hosts for a fall seminar this year. That call is open until August 15th. We already have responses, and we hope to announce a fall seminar in late August, and the details will be provided shortly. But again, we want to thank those who have made proposals and encourage anyone here in the audience who has a great idea about a proposal for a fall seminar, either this fall or potentially in a future year, to consider making that, developing the proposal. We have made the proposal process more transparent, we believe, and feel free, if you have any questions about that, to contact any IADL board member or myself or Anna to find out how you can prepare an effective proposal. We're happy to advise. Very delighted to report that the 42nd annual conference is slated to be held in Miami next June. The dates will be June 13th through 16th. And the committee that's working on that conference is already active and in preparing, and we're very hopeful and optimistic it will be a full in-person conference. And we will also have options for those who cannot attend in person for whatever reason to experience some aspects of the presentations. But we're hopeful that this will be our first conference that takes place in person in Miami. And then I mentioned before that we had an open call and a review of proposals for the host for the annual conference in 2023, and I'm pleased to announce that the United Arab Emirates will host that conference. It was a very strong proposal with co-hosts, and we'll hear more about that later in the program. But we do have a strong lineup, I think, of events and continuing support, and I want to thank all of those who step forward to host events, and for IADL members and for others, this is one of the most important and premier aspects of the organization's benefit and service to members. At this point, I think the question is whether there is any other business. We didn't note it in the agenda, but it is an opportunity for anyone to ask a question. If there are no questions, then I think with that, the annual general meeting for 2021 is adjourned. I want to thank everyone for their attention during the meeting, and I want to encourage you to participate as much as you can in this conference that has been so expertly developed and devised by the team at the University of Porto. Look forward to seeing you throughout the next few days and to seeing you again as we gather at the closing seminar session to reflect on the conference. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Be well. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, and see you soon.